What's going on, family? Welcome back to Larry's Anything Goes. Hopefully, you guys having a great and exceptional day. All right, so there's a post that I put out there. I said I was going to go live about this, so I'm doing it. I'm a man of my word, so I'm doing it, and this is what it is. So there's a post out there. There it is. Perfect. All right. So there's a post that I put out there that people had an issue with. I'm going to go speak on that one first and then speak about the other ones. All right. So, and I even had a female say, one female says I was full of S. And another female was like, asked me who hurt me. Now, I thought this, one, I'm not full of S. Number two, nobody hurt me. And number three, I just thought this was entertaining. But since people, went kind of viral on my personal Facebook page, I was like, you know what? Let me talk about this on Instagram. Okay. So, moral of the story is there's a post out there that I put that says, there's a woman who has 3 kids, and she's it's actually a funny cartoon. It's on my it's actually posted on all my other social media platforms, specifically YouTube and other TikTok and Facebook. But it says, so her requirements for a man is he has to be 6 feet. And a lot of times, most women, it's known that a lot of them like tall guys. It's not a big deal. That's not a big deal. It's not an unreasonable requirement. I think everybody has their preferences. Like, some men like short women, short, skinny women, short, thick women, short, big women. Or sometimes a guy likes a bigger woman that as tall as he is, if he's 6 foot something, or maybe even taller. Everybody's got their preference. Some people that are considered to be little people, they might just want to be with other little people or be with people that are taller than them. Fat, skinny, slim, thin, whatever. Everybody has their preference, so everybody has a right to do what they want to do, especially when it comes to having some sort of physical attraction. All right. So that's not unreasonable. Okay. Number 2, 6 figures. Now, I don't think that's unreasonable if you make 6 figures. In this picture, it clearly shows that this woman does not make 6 figures. So therefore, that's why it's clearly that she doesn't make 6 figures. And my mindset is like, no matter man, woman, or child, if you're bringing something good to the table, then obviously as a man or a woman, you should expect somebody else bringing something good to the table, because nobody wants a slouch on their team. If you're really going to have as they say, a real union, whether one's married or in a relationship, if you're really trying to be about that life, then everybody needs to be operating like a corporation and not just operating like, one person's doing the big and one person's being a bum loser. I've seen this with men being with bum women. I've seen this with women being with bum dudes. So it's all equal to the sequel, for real. Okay. So, number 6, 6-pack abs. Not unreasonable. If that's what your preference is, then it is what it is. Now, it says 6 inches. We all know what he's talking about. I'm not going to get too in depth in that aspect. I don't think that's unreasonable. Now, so I've gone through 4 things already that I say it's not unreasonable for what this woman in this picture says is a requirement. Okay. Now, here's what I consider to be unreasonable. She says no baby mamas, but you have kids. I think that's a contradictory, but if that's your preference, that's your preference. And here's this thing about, being with somebody. Everybody has their own preferences. So what I might like, you might not like, and vice versa. At the end of the day, who cares? As long as you're happy, go for it. There's a bunch of men that I grew up with that their lifestyle, I don't want nothing to do with that, especially the way that their marriages and their relationships are as in regards to the jealousy nonsense and having to be up their woman's butt all the time nonsense. I can't even go to the bathroom without their woman being there nonsense. That ain't for me. But a lot of guys like that, a lot of women like that. That's cool. I'm straight. No, I'm too much, as they say, I'm too much of a Capricorn and a Lone Ranger to be having somebody up my tail and be up somebody's tail like that. I don't mind being with you, but I got to have some me time, and I expect you to do that, because if you got to be that obsessed and absorbed with me or vice versa, then we got an issue. Okay, but that's just me. I'm not trying to change nobody's mind. I'm just putting out what I'm about. All right, cool. But I find it to be contradictory. If you got kids, but you don't want a man that doesn't have kids, I'm just like, okay, well then, and then you would get mad if you meet a man that says I don't date women with kids, because I've seen that happen before. So I would think it's more advantageous for a female or a male who is single but has children wanting to date somebody who has children, because then you have that in common. That'll be a big thing that you have in common, being a parent / being a single parent. But that's just my perspective. I'll leave it at that. All right, handsome, Bentley, and good in bed. And mind reader. Now that was the most stupidest crap, but whoever created this, it was a cartoon. That was the most stupidest crap ever, because nobody's a mind reader. But the sad thing is, I've heard men and women, but mostly women, unfortunately, say, I remember years ago I was talking to a female, and she said, she was mad about something. So me being the respectful person that I am, slash, I don't know, logical person that I am, I'm like, hey, what's wrong with you? And she said, and I quote, you should know what's wrong with me. I said, if I knew what was wrong with you, I wouldn't ask you what was wrong with you. I don't play mind games like that. And then the response from her was, well, you should know. And I'm like, and on that note, you have a nice life. Because if you can't be the adult and tell me what the hell is wrong with you, I'm not a dentist. I'm not going to pull it out of you. If something's wrong with me, you're going to know about it. I call that childish behavior, but that's just my personal opinion. All right. Good in bed? Okay. Well, I don't think that's unreasonable. Hey, you want somebody to be good in bed? You better be good in bed too. Cool. Bentley. Do you drive a Bentley? That's the first question. Okay. Because if you ain't driving a Bentley, if you can't afford a Bentley, then how you expect somebody to come up at you with that same mindset? I mean, that's just me. Handsome, not an unreasonable requirement, because if you're looking good, but especially nowadays, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, because once again, everybody has a preference when it comes to looks. Do you look good, or do you look like you just rolled out of bed? Half the time, a lot of men and women leave the house nowadays, especially during the summertime. I noticed that they just look like they just rolled out of bed. They got lint all over their clothes. They look like they haven't taken a shower. They look like they haven't even brushed their teeth. Or if they have hair, they don't even comb their hair. But I leave it at that, Okay, so the other side of the picture is just a man and his dog. If you can't hear, my dog Max is asleep. And his requirements is peace. Now, this is a picture, but is it a one-off? No. Doesn't mean that all men have these same requirements. I think the most reasonable men have those requirements. Peace. I think the most reasonable females, especially the older we get, has the same requirements in regards to, I want peace. Because at the end of the day, if it costs you your peace, if it costs me my peace, then it's too expensive. That's the price tag I put on anything in this life. If it costs me my peace, then it's too expensive. I can't afford it. I don't need it. Just like certain people won't buy a specific size house or a specific model of a car because they know that the maintenance upkeep, the taxes and insurance that are associated with those specific items is going to cost them their peace. And it's not worth looking good and trying to impress people that they don't know, or try to impress people that don't like them. It's not really worth it at the end of the day. Okay. Excuse me. All right. So that was the quote unquote controversial post that a lot of people got in their feelings and whatnot. Because of course the one girl, I answered the question of the one female, who hurt me. I'm like, nobody. But then number two, one girl was like, BS. Men have their unreasonable standards too. And I'm saying to myself, and I said to this individual, I never said that men don't have unreasonable standards. So I put out this post specifically on YouTube, and it says men's requirements for women. And it says, number one, no kids. Once again, it goes into, okay, if you don't have kids and you want to date a woman with no children, I don't think that's an unreasonable thing. And here's the crazy thing. Certain people cannot handle honesty in today's world, and I don't even understand that, because if somebody's being honest with you, appreciate that. Especially because you live in such a world where so many people are just fake about what they're about and who they are. Appreciate somebody being honest with you. As they say, people tell me like, well, you're a Capricorn, you're used to people just making it plain and not overthinking and over executing. And I was like, well, that's my mindset. If I got to overthink something, that means I need to, either do it or not. It's like the saying from Star Wars, do or do not do, there is no try. So we either we're going to do this or we're not going to do this. But it ain't going to be no long dissertation and long political debate about whether we're going to do something that's simple as far as start a relationship together, start a business together, go get something to eat. Simple things in life. We're not talking about mechanical engineering here, but most people make the simplest things very complicated for no freaking reason. I leave it at that, okay? All right. So, number two. It says for the men, thin waist. Okay, well, once again, what is his preference? If he likes a small petite woman, then of course that's what he's going to want. Me, I've always liked my thick BBWs and whatnot, so that would not apply to me. Once again, it's all about perspective. Okay, number three, pay all of the bills. That's some bum basic dude stuff. But a lot of guys have done this in their life, and unfortunately a lot of females have allowed men to walk all over them. As far as saying, I'll pay, as long as you stay with me, baby, I'll pay all the bills. That's your responsibility to say, no, you're the man. We gonna go 50-50 on this, or we not going at all. And we, like, cause that should be the first sign of a female, anyways, to run away. I don't care if he's the most sexiest man on the planet. Run, Forrest, run. Run for it, run. If a man comes up to you talking about, yeah, you pay all the bills and I'm gonna do X, Y, Z. I smell hustle and I smell scam all day, every day. But what do I know? Okay, but that's up to you to make that personal choice, because and nobody's perfect. I've made bad decisions when it comes to life, relationships, friendships, etc., and so forth. So we learn, we live to learn, and we move forward. You evolve or you disappear in this life. As a man said last night, yesterday, Jason Black, he said, if your life is still looking the same as it was in your 40s, as it was in your 20s, then clearly you're doing something wrong. All right. Okay. Number 4. Good credit. Now, I don't think that's an unreasonable thing, especially if you have good credit. You want to be with somebody who has good credit. So therefore, if you're getting in a marriage or a serious relationship and actually talking, having conversations about building, you can't build with somebody who doesn't have good credit or have good a creative spirit or hustle to them, especially if you're bringing that same kind of energy to the table. And that goes for men and women. All right. Because this young rapper said, I don't know his name, but he said this a couple of days on social media, and I was just like, that's some real stuff. He said a lot of problems with men is that if you get rid of the lust of a female, you find out the majority of the females that you're attracted to are boring as hell. And I'm like, you know what? Speak on that, because unfortunately, a lot of the females that I've met in my lifetime that I thought was very beautiful, especially going back to high school, they are boring as hell to be around. That if you try to have a conversation with them on any level, outside of trying to get into the bedroom and whatnot with them, you feel like you just like you might as well just be sitting in a room by yourself, because it's crickets up in there. Especially, there's nothing more of a blower than when you're trying to engage in a conversation with somebody. This goes with anybody, man or woman, for me. And I'm getting 1 to 2 word responses, and I'm giving you a good, having a good conversation about a specific subject matter, and I'm getting like, yeah, cool, that's crazy. I'm like, I might as well be talking to myself or talking to my dog Max. I don't know, that's just me. Okay. Number 5, own assets. Okay, once again, are you bringing that to the table, bro? Because this is what we talk about, the men having these requirements of women. Are you bringing that to the table? And the asset could be from a 401k, own stock brokerage account, business, cryptocurrency, bonds, whatever the case may be, house, homeowner. Assets can be a multitude of things, insurance policies. But are you bringing that to the table, or are you just a person that listened to Kevin Samuels back in the day, rest in peace to him, and was like, yeah, you need to have this, you need to have that, but you ain't got nothing to bring to the table? My personal opinion is, if you don't bring it to the table, then you can't require it. That's just me. And that goes for the men and the women. Don't bring the requirements to the table if you don't have those requirements, because that's why so many people end up angry. My personal opinion, if you disagree, cool, let me know in the comment section. I'm not here to argue. I'm just here to put my perspective out there, and I'm always willing to hear yours. All right, last but not least, number 6, and this was just ridiculous. Be my housekeeper. Grown men in today's world, it's nice to be with a female who can cook and clean, but if you don't try to at least be a decent person who can clean up behind himself, then basically you're a man baby. And I call it, as Judge Ross would say, you are a maybe, known as a man baby. So we have enough maybes out here. You don't know how to wash your own self up and clean your own clothes and clean your own room or whatnot, then God bless the woman that gets with you. And I'll leave it at that. Okay. So, last but not least, in this post, now this other post, I got great positive reviews from. It's a man he's hanging out with his friends. It looks like they're in front of a house and on the street corner, and he's holding a paper that says business plan. So clearly he's trying to develop a business plan, and he wants to get something off the ground. He's surrounded by 3 dudes, and there's a picture of him dreaming of himself being a CEO. He's surrounded by 3 dudes that are just sitting around smoking weed and getting drunk and whatnot. So getting high and getting drunk. If you like to drink, get your drink on. I do as well. If you like to get high, I don't get high, but I don't get drunk, and I don't believe I need to be inebriated to get by in this life, but that's just me. I'm a social drinker. But the moral of the story is, your circle, because in the picture it says, man, that's impossible what you're talking about as far as getting a business plan. And I've had to learn this in my life. Don't tell everybody your dreams, because if you're surrounded by negative people that are basic and boring and don't want to uplift their lives and go to another level in this life, then that's strike number one. But strike two is telling people your goals and aspirations when they don't have any. I learned this young when I was in my early 20s when I had goals written down. And a guy at my job, back when I worked in the audiovisual field, he was like, you can't possibly do that. And I'm just looking at this guy like, okay, well, I know you're 20 years older than me and you feel like you've peaked in your life, which is sad, because a lot of these people, especially in the DMV area, some but not all, once a lot of them have done like 20 years in a specific industry, they feel like their life is peaked, and by the time they're 40 years old, all they're going to do is basically go to work, go home, and play video games and go to sleep and talk about sports. Anybody that wants to talk about doing things outside of that, they get very quiet and they have nothing to say. So moral of the story is, men and women who have goals and aspirations, get the heck away from people that are talking that basic bump stuff. Because at the end of the day, these people don't really have your best interests at hand. You have your best interests at hand, and you got to get around people who have your best interests at hand, so therefore you can have their best interests at hand, and then you can work as a great economic cohesive force and make things happen, from your career to your family to assets to owning a business. All of the above, whatever the case, whatever your hopes and aspirations are in this life, moves can be made, things can get done. Okay, but if you tell the wrong people, and this is why I can't wait for InvestFest, which is now this is the last week of July, so it's less than a month. It's a month away officially now. So I can connect, see my old school, see my EYL brethren, earn your leisure brethren, so we can talk about what we've been doing, what we got going, learn from each other in regards to how we're trying to make things happen, whether it's in real estate business, owning a cleaning company, garbage removal business, asset accumulations, whatever the case may be. That's what I'm about being around. Positivity, uplifting, and making moves happen. So that's the clarity on this one. I will call this rant goals, life, relationships rant. And it's let me know in the comment section, whatever platform you're watching on, what are your goals? Men and women, what are your requirements? I actually want to hear what the men's and the women's requirements are. Anything that I have not covered here, because this was just to the point. I want to hear what your requirements are in this life in regards to who you want your significant other to be. And that's for men and women. And whether it's reasonable or unreasonable, everybody's perspective is different when it comes to this category. And I think we just need more honesty in this life. The more honest we are in this life, the better off we'll be. Less angry we might even be as well. So anyways, on that note, do the great 3 free things. Like, share, and subscribe. If you're not watching on YouTube, go to my YouTube channel, Larry's Anything Goes, LLC. If you want to, you can become a member. It's only $1.99 a month, so go from there. If you want to hit up the Cash App or PayPal or Venmo, links will be in the description. But as I say, because all the links on there is basically Larry's Anything Goes, LLC. That's how you find it. But anyways, do the great 3 free things. Like, share, and subscribe. Have a great day. Make money move so you can live like fools. It's in Spanish. Bienvenido a la vida. Welcome to the life. And as they say in Spanish, tenga una buen dia, have a good day, or tenga una buen domingo, have a good Sunday. But either way, have a good day. It's hot out there. Stay blessed. Be careful. And I'm out.